Hi there. Are you enjoying your stay at Tushi's place?
We've put together this sightseeing guide to help you make the most of your time in Kamakura.
Today, let's talk about Hokoku-ji Temple.
Okay, so picture this.
Hmm.
You step into a place, and the air just changes. It gets cool, really still, maybe just a tiny whisper of wind moving through these, like, enormous green stalks all around you.
Hmm.
And the sunlight, it's not direct, it's all dappled, filtering down, making everything glow a bit. You might think, okay, remote mountain temple.
But nope. It's right here, nestled in Kamakura, and what you're describing there, that's basically the essence of Hokoku-ji Temple.
Yeah.
You hear it called the Bamboo Temple all the time, and for good reason. It really does come up again and again as one of the most peaceful and visually striking spots around here.
Totally. So that's what we're doing today, taking a deep dive into Hokoku-ji. And our goal isn't just about looking at the famous bamboo, right? It's about, peeling back the layers
Exactly. Understanding the history behind it, which is actually quite deep.
and its spiritual side and really figuring out what makes visiting feel so unique, so serene, that kind of soul-calming thing people talk about. What makes it special for you?
Yeah, we've been digging through quite a bit of stuff, articles, guidebooks, historical notes, you name it, trying to
Yeah.
get the full picture.
Right.
Everything from how it started, the buildings, to that whole sensory thing in the bamboo grove, the echoes of its samurai history, plus all the practical info you'd need, like how to get there and really soak up that peaceful vibe.
It really does sound like more than just a pretty spot, like a real sanctuary.
It absolutely is. It's got layers.
Okay, so let's set the scene first. Where exactly is it?
All right, so location-wise, it's in eastern Kamakura, and it's tucked into something called a yato.
Ayato.
Yeah, think of it like a narrow valley, sort of naturally carved out with hills rising up around it. That landscape itself kind of immediately gives Hokokuji this feeling of being, sheltered, hidden away.
Ah, okay. That makes sense. That feeling of being tucked away definitely comes across in how people describe it. You hear about visitors coming from all over, specifically looking for that quiet, that serenity.
That deep tranquility. And it's not just naturally quiet, it has this strong spiritual anchor, too. It's a Rinzai Zen temple.
Rinzai Zen.
Yeah, and specifically, it's linked to the Kenshoji school. Kenshoji is, well, it's one of the major Zen temples in Kamakura. So Hokokuji is plugged into this really significant Zen tradition right here.
So it's got this peaceful setting and this Zen connection.
Yeah.
How far back does it actually go? Let's unpack the history a bit. You said 14th century.
That's right, early 14th century. We're talking right around 1334, give or take. So it's founded just as Japan is going through this massive shift, right before the Muromachi shogunate really gets going.
Wow. And who's behind it?
Well, it's tied to some really powerful families from that time. There are two main figures. Shikaga Itoki, he's seen as the, let's say, spiritual founder. And get this, Itoki was the grandfather of Ashikaga Takauji, the guy who becomes the very first Muromachi shogun. So big connections there.
Definitely.
But the actual building, the construction work, that's usually credited to Isugi Shugakane. He was a key figure associated with the Ashikaga clan. So the temple itself is almost like a symbol of the close ties between these two major families.
And the first head priest they brought in. That sounds significant, too. Not just a local figure.
No, not at all. They appointed a Zen master named Tengen Iko, and crucially, he had actually trained in China.
Ah, okay. So he brought international experience, so to speak.
Exactly. He'd studied Zen during a really vibrant period for it in China and brought that knowledge back. And after returning, he wrote this collection of poetry called the Tokishu.
And I read that these poems, the Tokishu, they're actually designated as important cultural properties of Japan, along with his seal.
Yes, absolutely. Which is a big deal. It tells you they're not just old documents. They're considered historically and culturally vital.
So why are they so important? What do they tell us?
Well, the poetry is seen as a key source for understanding what's called Gozan literature.
Gozan literature.
Yeah, basically the literary works produced within that network of major Zen temples, especially during the Muromachi era. Tengen Iko's work gives us this direct window into the intellectual life, the cultural stuff happening inside these powerful Zen centers back then. It shows Hokokuji wasn't just some quiet family temple. It had real cultural weight from the very start.
Fascinating. Okay,
Yeah.
but let's be real. For most people walking in today, the thing that grabs them, the image they probably came for, It's got to be that incredible bamboo garden.
Oh, without a doubt. It's the main event for many. And the descriptions really try to capture the scale, the feeling. We're talking something like 2,000 Moso bamboo stalks.
2,000. Wow.
Yeah, and they're tall. They just soar up, creating this thick green canopy way overhead.
And walking through it, it's more than just seeing bamboo, isn't it? People talk about the whole sensory experience.
Definitely. That special way the sunlight filters down, like you said, making those shifting patterns on the path, and the sound.
The rustling.
Yeah, that unique soft rustling when there's even a slight breeze. And maybe most strikingly, the coolness. You step in and the temperature just drops. It feels completely different, almost otherworldly, especially compared to outside on a warm day.
It sounds amazing. And it's not just us saying that, right? It's got some serious recognition.
It does. Pretty notably, it got 3 stars in the Michelin Green Guide Japan.
3 stars. That's the top rating, isn't it?
It is, basically saying it's exceptional, worth making a special trip for. So yeah, its reputation is global.
So, as you're walking along the paths inside the grove, what else do you see? Is it just bamboo?
No, there are other elements woven in. The paths themselves guide you. You'll notice stones along the way, often covered in this really vibrant green moss, which adds to that ancient, peaceful feeling.
Mhm.
And you'll spot little stone Jizo statues here and there, those small figures often seen as protectors. They're just quietly placed amongst the bamboo. And some small stone pagodas, too, sometimes half hidden, just subtle reminders that you're still in a temple space.
Right, integrating the spiritual within the natural.
Exactly. And speaking of integrating, deep inside the grove, there's a tea house. Kyukoan.
Ah, the tea house. That sounds like the perfect way to pause. What's that experience like?
It's really designed for contemplation. You can sit down, they serve you a bowl of matcha, proper powdered green tea, usually with a little wagashi, a traditional Japanese sweet that changes with the seasons.
Nice.
And the best part, you're doing this while looking directly out at the bamboo forest. It just surrounds the tea house. It kind of forces you to slow down, breathe, and just be in that environment.
That sounds essential, really, just
Yeah.
soaking it all in. Is there anything you need to know if you want to do that, like practically speaking?
Yeah, good point. One practical tip that comes up is that when it gets really busy, sometimes they have to suspend the matcha service just to manage the number of people.
Oh, cool.
So if having that quiet tea moment overlooking the bamboo is high on your list, the advice is definitely to try and visit earlier in the morning. It's generally much quieter then anyway, which just makes the whole thing better.
Good tip. Now, obviously, the bamboo is evergreen. It's always there. But I gather the rest of the temple grounds have their own seasonal beauty, too.
Oh, absolutely. The changing seasons are a huge part of its appeal beyond the bamboo. You get the classic Japanese beauty marks, cherry blossoms in the spring,
Of course.
hydrangeas adding lovely color in early summer, and then definitely the autumn foliage is spectacular.
Yeah, people really rave about the autumn, specifically like late November to early December. What's so special then?
It's the contrast. You have that deep, unchanging green of the bamboo as the backdrop. And then against that, you get the fiery reds of the maple leaves and the brilliant gold of the ginkgo trees turning.
Oh, that sounds incredible.
It really is. That vibrant clash of colors makes for some unforgettable scenery. People definitely travel just to see that. And even in winter, things aren't totally bare. You'll find camellias blooming, adding some color.
Now, for someone who wants to connect a bit more deeply with the temple's Zen side, beyond just looking around, is there anything offered?
Yes, and this is actually a really cool opportunity. Hokoku-ji holds early morning zazen meditation sessions.
Zazen, so seated meditation.
Exactly. They do it every Sunday morning at a hall called Kashodo.
Okay, what time is that?
It runs from 7:30 a.m. to 9:15 a.m. And the great thing is, they explicitly say it's open to beginners.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, it's not some super intimidating thing. It's a chance to actually practice quiet contemplation guided by the temple right there in that incredibly peaceful setting. A really genuine way to engage with the Zen spirit of Hokoji.
That sounds like a powerful experience.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move outside the bamboo grove itself. What other structures or features on the grounds tell more of the temple's story, like when you first arrive?
Right near the entrance, you come through the main gate, the Yakuman, and then you'll quickly notice this beautiful bell tower, the Shuro, with a thatched roof.
Thatched roof, wow.
Yeah, it really
Okay.
stands out. And that bell tower, it's actually the oldest building still standing on the site. It's a lovely example of architecture from the Kamakura period. And that natural roof helps it just blend right into the greenery and the hills behind it.
And isn't there a huge old tree right next to it?
Yes, good catch. There's this absolutely massive ginkgo tree, apparently around 300 years old. It's a landmark in its own right.
300 years.
Yeah. And when autumn hits and all its leaves turn that super bright, intense gold, seeing it framed next to the old thatched roof of the bell tower, that's one of the signature views of Hokoku-ji, really photographic.
Sounds beautiful. Now, if you explore further back, things get even more historical, right?
Yeah.
With those Yagura cave tombs.
Ah, yes, the Agura. They're fascinating. These are basically caves dug horizontally right into the cliffs or hillsides. It was a really characteristic way of burial during the Kamakura period because the rock here is relatively soft.
And Hokoku-ji has some.
It does. There's a group of them towards the back of the temple grounds.
And they contain some important figures related to the temple's founding.
Exactly. They're believed to be the final resting places of Ashikaga Toki, the spiritual founder we talked about, and some of his family members or descendants. So you're literally standing right beside the graves of people central to the temple's origins and, early shogunate history.
Wow. And there's one tomb there with a particularly sad story attached to it.
Yes, that's the one often identified as belonging to Ashikage Yoshihisa. The story connected to him is really tragic. He's said to have taken his own life during the Aikyo Rebellion in the 15th century at the age of just 10.
10 years old? Goodness.
Yeah, it's incredibly sad. But that detail, however grim, adds this layer of very human, dramatic history. Seeing that small cave tomb really brings home the reality of those turbulent times. It definitely captures people's attention.
It makes it feel very real somehow.
It does. And scattered around the grounds, especially in the garden areas, you'll also see these distinctive stone towers called gurinto.
Gurinto, what are those?
They're 5-tiered stone memorials. You'll see them often covered in moss, looking very ancient.
Yeah, they have a story too.
A very powerful one. The gurinto at Hokokuji are believed to mark the graves of warriors. Specifically, samurai who committed ritual suicide seppuku to follow their lord Hojo Takatoki after the fall of the Kamakura shogunate in 1333.
Whoa. So right around the time the temple was being founded by the Ashikaga.
Exactly. That event marked the end of the Kamakura era, the end of the Hojo rule. These stones basically represent that dramatic turning point in history, the loyalty and the end of the samurai government that had defined Kamakura for so long.
Seeing those must really hit home, the depth of history there.
It absolutely does. They're like silent witnesses to that whole shift,
Yeah.
tying the temple directly to samurai culture and that profound moment in Japanese history.
And besides the bamboo and these historical markers, the garden itself sounds beautiful, particularly the moss.
Oh, yeah. The moss is famous. The garden areas are covered in this thick, rich carpet of moss, and it's apparently especially vibrant and beautiful just after it rains. Some descriptions even compare its quality and feel favorably to the famous moss gardens you find in Kyoto. It just adds another layer to that peaceful, aged beauty. Great for quiet walks, and yes, definitely for photos too.
Okay, so let's talk logistics. If you're staying at Toshi's place or just planning a visit from Kamakura Station, what's the best way to get to Hokoku-ji?
It's pretty straightforward, actually. From JR Kamakura Station's east exit, the most common route is catching a KQ bus.
Which bus stop?
You want to get off at the Jomyoji stop.
Huh.
Jomyoji. From that stop, it's super close, maybe just a 3-minute walk to the temple entrance.
Okay, sounds easy.
Yeah.
What about other options like walking or taking a taxi?
You can definitely walk from Kamakura Station. It's a pleasant walk, takes about 30 minutes or so, lets you see a bit of the town. A taxi is faster, maybe 7 to 10 minutes without traffic.
Without traffic being the key phrase in Kamakura sometime.
Exactly. Kamakura traffic can get quite heavy, especially on weekends or holidays, so a taxi might end up taking longer than you expect.
So bus or walking might be more reliable.
Generally, yeah. Plus, parking right at the temple itself is very limited, so using public transport or your own 2 feet is usually the recommended way to avoid any parking stress.
Gotcha. And timing is key, right, for
Yeah.
getting that peaceful experience everyone talks about.
Absolutely crucial. The #1 tip across the board is go early. Aim to get there before 10 a.m. The temple opens at 9, so being there close to opening time is ideal.
Before the crowds arrive.
Precisely. Another interesting tip is that rainy days can actually be quieter, as fewer tourists venture out. And surprisingly, even summer can be good. The bamboo grove stays relatively cool, and it might be less packed than peak cherry blossom or autumn leaf seasons.
And especially if you are staying nearby, like at Toshi's place. Grabbing that early morning slot seems like the absolute best plan.
Without a doubt. Being close by gives you that advantage. You can experience Hokoku-ji when it's truly at its most serene, before the main wave of day trippers hits. You get that connection with the place, the nature, the history, without all the bustle. It really makes a difference.
Okay, so you've had this amazing, peaceful morning at Hokoku-ji. If you want to explore more in that same area, what else is nearby?
You're actually in a great little cluster of interesting spots there. Right nearby, within easy walking distance, is Jomyoji Temple.
Jomyoji.
Yeah, it's one of Kamakura's 5 great Zen temples, so it's significant in its own right. And it has both a traditional tea house and a pretty popular modern cafe on its grounds, interestingly enough.
Oh, cool. More options for tea or coffee. What else?
There's Sugimoto Dera. That one's famous for being the oldest temple in Kamakura. It's also sometimes called the Moss Temple because it has its own beautiful mossy staircase and garden.
Another moss temple.
Kind of. Then there's Kamakura-gu Shrine, which is linked to Prince Morinaga, a key figure from that turbulent period after the Kamakura shogunate fell. And for garden lovers, there's Ichijo Ekansanso, which is a historical villa with really refined, beautiful gardens.
Sounds like plenty to see.
Hmm.
I also saw something about a hiking option nearby. For people feeling a bit more energetic.
Yes, right up behind the temple area is Ment Kinubarayama. It offers a nice little hiking trail. And it comes with a rather charming local legend.
Oh, do tell.
Well, the story goes that Minamoto no Yoritomo, the founder of the whole Kamakura government, and his wife Masako were bothered by the summer heat. So they supposedly had the entire mountain covered in white silk kinu to make it look like snow.
Covered a mountain in silk. That's quite a story.
Isn't it? Hence the name. Kinubarayama literally means something like silk-covered mountain.
That's fun. And what's the payoff for hiking it today,
Yeah.
besides the story?
You get some great views from the top, sweeping panoramas looking back over Kamakura town and then out across the water to Uegahama Bay. It's a really nice contrast to the enclosed, intimate feel of the Hokoku-ji Valley. Gives you a different perspective on the whole area, a great way to round things off.
So, when you put it all together, Hokoku-ji Temple really is this incredible mix, isn't it? You've got the iconic, super peaceful bamboo grove, absolutely. But then there's this deep layer of history, Zen history, samurai history, tied right into the foundations of Kamakura itself, all wrapped up in this stunning natural setting.
It really earns that description you see sometimes. A healing destination. It just invites you to slow down, you know? And you can find that tranquility whether you're sipping tea, admiring the flowers changing with the seasons, thinking about those ancient tombs or mossy stones, or just standing there feeling small amongst all that bamboo.
And it sounds like to really capture that essence, that unique serenity, making the effort to visit early in the morning is the way to go.
Absolutely. So maybe as you find yourself walking those paths, maybe you pause by one of those moss-covered Gorinto stones, or you stand under that huge old ginkgo tree near the bell tower. Just take a moment and think, what stories are these ancient things telling about Kamakura's past? And how does knowing that history maybe shape or deepen that feeling of peace, that tranquility you feel right there today?
What did you think?
We hope you'll make even more wonderful memories at Toshi's place.